All right. All right, hopefully this will work. If not, then we can always go back and go over it as much as you want. But essentially, I'm going to teach you the basics of grammar and also hold you accountable for including this in your writing. So at first it might feel like a stretch or exercise, but eventually if you just continue to do it, it will feel very natural and you'll have fun picking out grammar, other people's grammar mistakes. At least I did. Grammar basics. So what do we want to start with? Okay, so these are the things we're going to cover. I know this is a lot in less than an hour, but we can go back over this and we'll continue to revisit this through as I grade your papers and give you feedback and comments. But we will talk about what is a subject, what is a verb, and what is an object. You will know what is a sentence, the different types of sentences and clauses. You will be able to define what a noun is, a proper noun, a pronoun. You will know what a preposition is. We hear that word, but people aren't quite sure what its function is. Well, by the time this lecture finishes, you will know what a preposition is and a prepositional phrase and how to recognize it. I will teach you where to place commas, colons, semicolons, what is an M dash versus an N dash versus a hyphen and the purpose for each one. I will also teach you about subject-verb agreement. If you know what a subject is and you know what a verb is, the two have to come together and be agreed. I'll teach you what active voice is, passive voice is, and you'll be able to define those. Adjectives and adverbs, ly meaning it usually ends in ly adverbs, but we'll learn what that is. Conjunction, I don't know if you guys watch Schoolhouse Rock, conjunction, junction, like, so we'll take it to the basics. Interjections and then gerunds, and they usually end in ing. So is that fair? If you can, take notes, all right? So here we go. What is a sentence? A sentence is a subject and a verb. That's it. That's all it takes. And you've got yourself a sentence. So a subject is who is doing the action, right? Who is actually doing something, being something, is performing the action, right? What is a verb? A verb is the actual action itself. So the singing and the occurrence, so something maybe develops, or it's just the state of being, it is. And then what is an object? It receives the action. So these are the very basic parts of a sentence. The subject, who we're talking about, the verb, what that person or thing we're talking about is doing, and then the object, that what's actually receiving the action. If Will bounces the ball, Will is the subject, bounce is what he's actually doing, so it's the action, and the ball is actually receiving what he's doing, and that's the bouncing itself. Does that make sense? So before I get into this, I want Justin Evans to tell me, what is the subject?
Oh, the first sentence?
Just tell me in general, don't even look at,
Oh,
what is the subject? What is it? What is the subject?
it's like either the action or the performance of either the action or the subject is doing inside of the sentence.
That is a verb. So the subject is, what are we talking about? Who is the main focus, or what is the main focus of the sentence? Who is performing the actual action? So Will, what's the subject?
Subject is who does the verb or action.
Yeah.
The main object of the sentence.
That's it. Who the heck are we talking about? Or who's actually doing, if I say someone's singing, who's actually doing the singing? If I say someone's dancing, who's actually doing the dancing? Who are we talking about? It is the person, place, or thing that we are talking about in the sentence. Does that make sense? So let's look at some of these sentences, right? Nicole, that would be me, cries during weddings. What's the subject in the sentence? So let's ask Andy, what is the subject in the first sentence? Nicole cries during weddings.
Nicole is the subject.
That's right, Nicole's the subject, because Nicole is doing what, Andy?
She's crying.
She's crying. And then where does she cry at?
At the wedding.
At the wedding. So Nicole is the subject, cries is the verb, and then during weddings, that whole during weddings would be the object. So we'll get into prepositions later. So Caleb, kids love ice cream. What's the subject?
Were you asking anybody?
I was asking Caleb, but I see his
Okay.
screen's on black. But you can answer. Is that Tito?
Yeah.
for
Kids,
Right, kids. What's the
Subject.
verb? What's the verb?
love.
Right, there you go.
I'm so sorry. I was helping my mom with something.
No worries. So you get the next one though, bro. You're not off the hook. You tell me in sentence number 3, he watches football on Sunday nights. What's the subject?
The subject watches.
Mm-mm.
He.
He. Who does he?
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Sorry,
He.
I was looking at verb.
Yep. So he. So who wants to do the next one? If I say be ready, if I'm to be ready at noon, what's the subject?
It's subconsciously you.
There you go. Who said that?
That was Andy. Right?
Who said it?
Andy said it.
Andy said it. Okay, Andy. A+ for you.
You tough, Jody. I wouldn't have figured that out.
Here's the thing. If you get a command, right? Be ready, sit down, shut up. It's like he said, it's implied that the subject is you. So you know if it's a command, it's you. So there's your trick right there. So Kobe, since Kobe's nodding feverishly, number 5, what's the verb? I love you. I love you, Kobe.
Love.
Love, right? Love is the verb. So, huh?
You threw me off. I thought you was gonna ask me for the subject, but never mind.
Oh, I gotta throw you off. You know what I'm saying? I gotta mix it up. So who wants to do number 6? During spring break, students travel to the beach. And tell me the verb. Go for it,
I
Jonathan.
can do it. Oh.
Oh,
The verb is travel.
travel. That's the action actually happening here. So during the spring break, let's take that out. The subject would be students. Students are doing the action of traveling. And where do they travel? They travel to the beach. That would be the object. Okay. So who wants the next one? Without warning, the tornado came. What's the verb?
Would it be came?
Came. That's right. It's just in past tense. So the tornado comes would be present tense, but came is past tense. The tornado is the subject we're talking about, and came is the verb. Next person, who wants to answer this one? They married, and 20 years later, they renewed their vows. What's the verb? Go for it, Caleb.
Married.
Married.
And then there's another one too, right?
Right.
Where's the sentence at? They married. Renewed.
Renewed. So that's what people are doing. They're marrying up in here and they're renewing up in here. Those are the actions. Is that clear? Are we good? Okay. So who wants to do the next one? Now I know y'all love some LeBron James. Y'all said that, y'all. Okay. So LeBron James dribbles the ball. What is the object of the sentence?
Basketball is the object.
Exactly, the basketball. So LeBron is the subject, dribbles is the verb or what he is doing, and what is receiving the action is the basketball. Who wants to do the next one? He taps his pencil. What's the object of the sentence? Go for it, Jonathan.
Pencil, the object.
And then the last one, Katie wears only black clothes. What is the object of the sentence? She wears only black clothes.
Black clothes.
There you go, clothes. And what type of clothes? They're black. Does that make sense? These are very simple sentences. We know what the subject is. It's what we're talking about. Basically, the person, thing, the place that's doing the action. Then there's the action itself, that's called a verb, and then the object, what's receiving it. So anytime that you see a complex sentence, just break it up, break it down. Look for the subject, look for the verb, look for the object. Okay, so sentences. I want to make this easy for you. There are different types of sentences, right? So there's a declarative sentence, there's an interrogative sentence, there's an exclamatory sentence, which this should kind of give you clues since I put punctuation next to it. There's a compound sentence, and then there is an imperative sentence, which we use an example. I'm sorry, I'm just moving stuff on my screen so I can see you all. Okay, so we're gonna make it this very easy. What is a declarative sentence? A declarative sentence just makes a statement. It just says what it is. She is beautiful. I consider that me, by the way. And then An interrogative sentence is just a question. Do you think she is beautiful? And y'all's answer better be yes, by the way. Then there's an exclamatory sentence. It shows strong emotion, right? So she is beautiful, right? So maybe you've had that thought of somebody across campus. And then what is a compound sentence? A compound sentence, which actually, was it Caleb who was talking about renewed and married? That was a compound sentence. It had more than one subject. So she is beautiful. She is the subject. And then her sister is intelligent. Well, sister or her sister is the second subject. So now we're compounding more than one sentence. We've got a compound sentence because it's more than one subject. And then an imperative is what we talked about, those commands. Tell her she is beautiful, right? Sit down, shut up, don't go there. It's just a command, imperative sentence. So those are the different types of sentences. Any questions on that? Anybody want to tell me what the subject is and tell her she is beautiful? Anybody? Tell her she is beautiful. Jonathan.
The subject is she.
The subject is not she.
It's you.
You. Remember, I said if you have a command, it is implied. The subject is you. So basically, I'm saying, you tell her she is beautiful. You sit down. You shut up. You. Remember when we have those imperative, those command sentences, the subject is you. What questions do you have on that before we move forward? All righty. Next, whoops. Next one, subject verb agreement. Has anybody ever heard of this?
Yes.
Yes. You have? You want to maybe take a guess before I get into my long soliloquy?
Subject verb agreement would be like, you want to make sure, like, whether you're using I, you, or they, whatever noun, the corresponding verb would match. So you wouldn't say like they does, you would say they do that.
That's right, exactly. So basically, that's exactly it. So it's making sure that singular verbs, that action, actually is paired with a singular subject. So if we have singular verbs end in S, so he is the subject, it's one person, exercises every day. That's the sentence. So he is the verb, exercises is the, he is the subject and exercises is the verb, but it would not be he exercises every day. He exercises every day. So we have to make sure that if it's a singular subject, talking about one thing, one place, one person, one idea, that it now has a corresponding singular verb. He exercises every day. Plural verbs do not get an S, right? So plural verbs go with plural subjects. So she and her friends, that is more than she. It is more than one person. It's she and her friends laugh at my joke. Plural verbs do not end in S. So it would not be she and her friends laughs at my jokes. It's she and her friends laugh at my jokes, right? You, the word you is unique, just like it was unique in hiding itself in the command sentences, those imperative sentences. You takes on a plural verb. You are worrying too much, right? So when you're stressed out and you have midterms and your friend goes, you're worrying too much. So it takes on plural instead of singular, even though I'm talking about you. And then I want you to look out for more complex sentences. So we talked about those compound sentences, and we have sentences that are just has more than one subject and more than one verb. So I want you to look out for complex sentences that have phrases in between the subject and the verb, because sometimes it might confuse you. So in this example here, the book, including all the chapters in the first section, is boring, right? But the book is the actual subject, and is would be the verb that goes with book, even though I have all those words in between. So that set it off by those commas, and it's a dependent clause. It's not even a full sentence, but if I just cross that out, I just take it out and cross it out. The sentence is the book is boring, right? And so it wouldn't be the book are boring, it's the book is boring. I have to make sure that the subject, if it's singular, gets a singular verb. If I have a subject that is plural, it gets a plural verb. I have to make sure they agree. Subject verb agreement. Any questions? All right. Next, nouns, proper nouns and pronouns. See, that's one of y'all. That's why I picked that picture. I love that picture. So anyway, what is a noun? you've probably heard this like in grade school, right? It's a person, place, thing, or idea, right? Did you hear that in grade school? So if a person, it can be something like he, well, actually, that's a pronoun. It could be, let's say the man would be a person, place would be the building, thing might be a pencil, an idea. What would be an idea if I say a noun is an idea?
You could say like liberalism's an idea.
Mhm. Liberalism is an idea. Love is an idea. I can't actually touch love, right? I can't wrap love. I can't cut it in half and give you half and give me half. But the idea of, we all understand conceptually what love is, right? We understand conceptually what justice is, right? It exists. It is real, but it's something that we conceive of. It's an idea. So love and justice, peace. Peace would be a noun, and it's an idea. So that's what they mean by person, place, thing, or idea. So person feels easy, right? It's the boy. Place feels easy. It might be the house. Thing feels easy, a cell phone. But ideas, sometimes people get tripped up on because you just can't touch it, feel it. But we deal with those ideas and those nouns all the time. Injustice, love, and peace, or liberalism, like you said. Does that make sense? Cool. So what is a proper noun? Proper noun is a specific person, place, thing, or idea. So a specific person. So instead of me saying the student, now I'm saying Kobe. I'm talking about a specific person, a specific place. Instead of the building, it's now the Empire State Building, right? I'm specifically talking about a certain place, a thing. Instead of, I don't know, instead of a phone, now we're talking maybe an iPhone, even though that little eyes, but that is a proper noun. Okay, I'm talking about the iPhone 7S or whatever. I know that's old, but whatever it is out there. And then a specific idea, maybe instead of just justice, it would be maybe like the Black Lives Matter movement, right? So now we're capitalizing specific things, and proper nouns are capitalized. And then what is a pronoun? A pronoun, we talked about what a noun is. It's a person, place, thing, or idea, right? But now we're replacing it in the sentence. So instead of every time saying Tito came to class, and then Tito paid attention, and then Tito did his homework, and then Tito picked up the phone and Tito asked a question, we're just gonna say he. So Tito came to class and he paid attention. Instead of me saying Tito came to class and Tito paid attention, I'm just gonna make it a lot simpler and say he. So pronouns would be he, she, right? So what is a noun? Man, student, that's an example. What is a proper noun? Justin would be a proper noun. What is a pronoun? He, she, they, I. Those are all pronouns. Instead of me saying Nicole is the teacher of the class and Nicole graduated from the University of Georgia, and Nicole, I just say I. So I'm the professor of the class and I graduated from the University of Georgia. Just makes life a whole lot simpler. Make sense? So just if you guys could just, so we can move on. I'm not gonna move on until you guys answer me. Give me some nouns, just shout out some nouns. Let's start with Tito, since I kept using you as an example. Yeah, just name a noun.
Me would be a pronoun, right? Or
Me
you
would
want me
be
to just do a noun now?
Do a noun. Give me a noun.
Okay. So the dog.
Dog. Dog would be a noun. So give me a proper noun. A specific person, place, or thing.
Let's say my dog's name is like Oreo.
Oreo.
Say that. So if dog is the noun, then like my dog Bella. If I say my dog Bella would be the proper.
Bella would be the proper noun.
Okay.
Yeah, Bella would be the proper noun. We all know who Bella is now, right?
But we right there, Kobe. We right there.
And then is your dog he or she? Bella would be a,
or Bella is a she, yeah.
Yeah, Bella is a she, and then Tito, your dog, Oreo's a he. So the pronoun for Oreo would be
he.
Right, and the pronoun for Bella would be
she.
She. There you go. I feel so smart hanging around you guys. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good. Okay, so what is a preposition? Now, I'm a grammar geek. All right, so this is one of my favorite parts of the language. What is a preposition? I'm going to teach you like a teacher taught me, that just made it clear, because it's a big fancy word. No one knows what it means. Nobody knows what it's for. That's going to change today. So what is a preposition? A preposition tells you two things, when and where, or it tells you the time and the place. If you remember that, you will be able to recognize prepositions, right? It tells you when or where, or it tells you the time and the place, right? So I'm going to give you some examples. Now, these on the screen, I would encourage you to start committing these to memory, because that's actually what we did. We actually said it out loud. And if I was in person with you, you'd actually be doing this for me, believe it or not. But so let's start with where, right? Let's start with where. It's if I say, and I want you to all to actually do this, right? So look at me on the screen. Here we go. I have some fun. I want you to place your hand above your head. Just place your hand above your head, right? It's above. So above is telling me where, right? If I want you to place your hand below your chin, below your chin. So I know where, right? I want you to place your hand down by the floor. Place your hand down by the floor, right? I'm telling me where, right? I want you to put your finger on your nose, yep. And I want you to place your finger underneath your nose. There you go. Andy was a little slow there. Okay, anyway, just a little joke. Okay, so it tells me where, right? It tells me where. And it tells me the time. So who was, I think it might have been Jonathan. He came in really early because I let him in the class. He came before everyone else. That's when he came before everyone else, right? And then on the screen, when I look at people on the screen, I see Kobe sitting between Jonathan and Andy. So there's the position. It's telling me where. So it will be about, above, across, after, against, along, amid. These are all things that tell me either where or they tell me either when. If you commit these to memories, you will be able to recognize prepositions and prepositional phrases. That is the point of a preposition. Tell me when, tell me where, tell me time, tell me place. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when I say that, that helps you identify a prepositional phrase, an entire phrase that is positioning something. So prepositional phrase basically is just a group of words. It consists of a preposition. It consists of that word that tells you where and it tells you or tells you when. Tito has a question.
Yeah, sorry, it was relating to the list, because I was gonna ask if around was a preposition.
Around is a preposition. So I don't, this is
Okay.
not, let me just be clear.
Oh yeah, this is not a complete list. Okay.
Yeah, it's not. There's like hundreds of prepositions, and some things
Okay.
I even look at it, I'm like, oh, vis-a-vis, that's a preposition, but you just think about what its function is in a sentence. So yes, exactly, around.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool. Good. I like your thinking. A prepositional phrase is a group of words consisting of the preposition, so something telling me when and where. It's object, meaning it's telling me about a specific object, where it is, or when it did something or happened. And any words that modify that object, meaning like modify, meaning it's not just a sweater, it's a black sweater. So I get to know a little bit more about it. I've modified it. It's not every type of sweater, it's black sweaters. So it's not every type of man I want, it's a black man, so that's what we mean by modify. So when you're looking at sentences, I want you to start looking for the preposition and then what is the object in the phrase, right? So let's look at a few different examples. Number one, I left my cell phone in my car, right? In would be the preposition. It tells me where. It tells me where I left my cell phone at. And then where did I leave my cell phone? In the car. So this would be the entire phrase, in my car. The specific preposition would be in. It's telling me where. Number two, you should learn to read between the lines, right? To is a preposition. And then between is placing where? The lines. And then number three, they play basketball. Where do they play basketball? At. Where at? The park. So the entire prepositional phrase is at the park. But if I want to get really specific, where do they play basketball? At the park. And it's telling me at. It's specifically at this place, right? Not beyond the park, not across in the park, but actually at the park. It tells me where. That's why I was saying take the time to Google just Google and look at these prepositions and be like, oh, I didn't realize this was a preposition. So there's a lot that I don't have on here, because that would be like over 100, but take the time after class just to Google prepositions and see the list. Any
From
questions?
last semester, oh, sorry. I don't know
Mhm.
if we're gonna do this in this class or not, but from last semester, we did the newsroom 101 thing where they had us like do the prepositions, verb agreements, subject verb agreements.
Mhm.
Are we also gonna be doing that in this class or no?
So you will be responsible for incorporating the correct subject verb agreement and in your writing. This is a writing class. So the assumption is that, and I know maybe there's like 1 or 2 people who are taking maybe the classes at the same time, but I just want to see it in your writing. So I don't want to see when you write that you have the wrong verb with your subject, or I don't want to see complexity in your writing. And the things that we talk about with grammar, I want to see it reflected in your writing. But is there a grammar quiz? Nope. And is there a test in this class? No, there's not a test. So we'll see it reflected in your writing.
All right, I just want to make sure so I didn't have to like buy another subscription to the thing again.
You can if you want. That's a resource.
Funny.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
good. I'm good off those 80 quizzes.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, I should have said that. And I
Yeah.
said it at the beginning last time, but this is not a test class. This is a writing class. So it's an opportunity for you to write, even get feedback. If you want to write again, things like that. The focus is really that you write, not be tested a lot. Okay, so let's talk about commas, colons, and semicolons, right? It bugs me when I see a comma in the wrong place. So I want to get you to that point where you care about where's the comma going, where's the colon, where's semicolons. But first you have to know what the point of these different punctuations are. So number 1, commas separate 2 independent sentences. What do I mean by independent sentences? Meaning that they can stand on their own. They have a subject and they have a verb, right? Jesus wept and he cried. So those are 2 independent sentences, and they're joined together by some type of conjunction. So I said Jesus wept, comma, and he cried. So if I see 2 independent sentences joined together by a conjunction, meaning and, but, for, or, no, nor, so, or yet, then a comma goes in between, just automatically, right? I want to use commas after an introductory clause or phrase. So and words that come before the main clause. So what do I mean by that? I mean that before every class, Professor Smith grabs her coat. Before every class, Professor Smith grabs her coat. Well, the sentence is Professor Smith grabs her coat, but the introductory clause that gives me some context is before every class. So I just pop a comma in between there. Before every class, comma, Professor Smith grabs her coat. So between independent sentences, you just look for subject, verb. Between introductory clause and the main clause. And then we're going to set off non-essential things in sentences. So meaning, if I took it out of the sentence, it doesn't matter. So if I said Professor Smith, who went to George Washington University, is the teacher of this class, I can take out who went to George Washington University and it still be Professor Smith is the teacher of this class. So it's just setting up things that aren't essential in the sentence. If you want to give a pause or a shift in a sentence, you want somebody to just pause, you're going to put a comma there. It's more discretionary. And then separating 3 or more words, phrases, or clauses. And actually this sentence is a good example of that. I said separate 3 or more words, comma, phrases, comma, or clauses. So I just want to put commas in between if it's 3 or more sentences in a series. Commas. So here's some examples, right? I said if we have independent clauses or independent sentences, you put a comma between it. So I think this class is interesting, comma. Here's the conjunction, so, and I plan to try my best. That's 2 sentences joined together by a conjunction. So I think is subject verb, and then I plan, subject verb. So I see subject verb on both sides, I put a comma, because on both sides of the conjunction, I put a comma right before, so independent. Introductory, meaning that I'm getting context beforehand. So it's before the main sentence, before that subject verb part. Since the class is boring, I plan to drop the class. So I have the introductory part. It's not a complete sentence. It just gives me context. Since the class is boring, comma, I plan to drop the class. Number 3, a non-essential, meaning I don't need it, right? I could do with it, do without it. I could take it out of the sentence and the sentence doesn't change meaning. The student who is a senior came to class late. That's a non-essential who is a senior. It's just added context. If I took it out and said the student came to class late, you would still understand what I meant. You still understand the main point of the sentence. It is a non-essential. So anything non-essential, stick commas around it. And then pause or shift, right? So when you're writing, you want your writing to have flow, not just to read either too long or too choppy. So if I want the reader to pause, I just put a comma there to indicate that. I asked you to come quickly, not slowly. So see, there's the pause there. And then of course we talked about serial, 3 or more words in a series, right? 3 or more words. So the flag's colors are red, white, and blue. So we're going to put commas after red and white. Any questions? I love a good comma. I don't know about y'all. Okay. Next, colons. Deliver, and I'm going to.
Sorry, I actually do have a question.
Sure.
So, like I know people that took Mr. Thomas could say like, so as far as like, don't they also call number 5 like the Oxford comma or something like
They
that?
do. So in news writing, that you can in news writing, see the comma after white, oftentimes people will say take that out, right? So there's the serial comma, meaning what I just taught you. See the word serial? If there's a series, you stick that comma in there, right? And then there's the Oxford comma, where in news writing, they don't believe in it. So they would say, don't put that last comma there before the last 2. And unless
so for I was gonna say, so for this class, we'll stick to the serial.
You could stick to the serial, yeah. But and to be honest with you, if you didn't do it, I would be very impressed. If you're like, I'm gonna do the Oxford comma, you know, I might write a little feedback that say I'm impressed. So either one in this class is fine. If you want to no comma there, you want to do Oxford, and if you want to do serial, I'm okay with that too. My main point of the class is that you know how to use it. That's my main point. Okay, colons. So colons, it delivers an answer. If you remember nothing else about colons, that's what it does, right? So it's just make it plain. It delivers an answer or a list of items. So for example, the 2 states where it's illegal to pump your own gas, colon, New Jersey and Oregon. That's true, by the way. All right, so if there are 2 states where it's illegal to pump your gas, what's the answer? New Jersey and Oregon. That's how you use a colon. It delivers an answer or a list of items, right? So you need certain credentials to get this job. Well, what are the credentials? Well, the answer is a college degree, creativity, experience, and determination. So there's your answer. And it's a list, by the way. And if I say there's only one man for me, well, what's the answer? Who's that man? Deshaun. Deshaun is the one man for me. Does that make sense? Semicolons, and don't get too fancy with semicolons because they're kind of old school, but I still love a good semicolon. Semicolons are often used just for combining sentences that are extremely closely related, right? And so instead of a period, essentially use periods. Instead of using a period, I will use a semicolon, and the reader is supposed to understand that this is so closely related in what we're talking about. I'm putting a semicolon to deliver that message. So in the winter in New York is cold. The weather is so cold, I won't move there, right? So I'm talking about something and it's related and it's closely aligned. So I put a semicolon there. Next would be like, this is a real example out of a reading I read, but the rising cost of medicines and medical equipment are large factors in making health insurance more expensive, semicolon. Employees can't afford those costs and they have to pass them on to the employees. So they're trying to essentially make the reader understand that basically because we got all this high costs in medical care and insurance and it's gotten so expensive, understand that it's directly correlated that these costs have to be passed on to the employees. So that's what a semicolon does. If you are ever confused how to use a semicolon, number 1, ask yourself, are these sentences, do they do they, are they closely related? Do they talk about similar things? Do they add on to each other? And then number two, ask yourself, can I put a period there? If you can't put a period there, you shouldn't have a semicolon. Cool. All right. M dash, N dash, hyphen. And the way that you can make these on your computer, actually, let me write a note. I'll write how to actually make these on, right, M dash note. How to actually make these on your computer, because it's different for a Mac than it is a PC, but they each have a different function. The M dash is the longest dash that you'll see, right? And I'll explain what the function is. The N dash is like in the middle. And I don't know if you can see the small little difference there. And then the hyphen is the shortest. So M dash, N dash, hyphen. What do they stand for? Well, an M dash is to set off thoughts, right? So maybe you have an interruptive thought. So Kobe, who likes to wear, maybe I say Kobe, he wears his hood in class. It's one of the best students I have, right? And so even though he wears his hood in class, it's just an interruptive thought. I just set it off real quick. So I would put M dashes around it. And I'll show you how this looks. An N dash just literally means the words either to or through. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., right? Or through. So maybe June through December. So instead of actually writing it, you just put it in dash. And then hyphen, it just joins words and numbers. My phone number, which just says my phone number, 678 hyphen 677 hyphen 3733. Just joins words or numbers. Or it's a blue-green sweater. Blue-green would join two words and you have a hyphen. But let's take a look. The M dash, so remember the N dash is just setting off thoughts, right? So Atlanta has a lot of neighborhoods, about 242 in total, which is why our city is so diverse. Now I could gut that out and say we don't need about 242, but I decided to add context. It's a little bit, it's interrupting the sentence a little bit. And so it's just a set off thought. We could really do with or without it. But I like to add some facts. So when you're writing, maybe you want to use an M dash to add some facts that would just otherwise wouldn't be there unless you use it. So it's not just it has a lot of neighborhoods. How many neighborhoods? 242. So I just put Atlanta has a lot of neighborhoods, about 242 in total, which is why our city is so diverse. An N dash, if you remember, N dash just means to or through. So the internship will be from June 1st through August 31st, right? Hyphen. Remember, hyphen is just joining words and numbers. So the blue-green shirt looks nice with those jeans. It's not a blue shirt. It's not a green shirt. It's a blue-green shirt. That's what it is. So I joined the two words together, and now we have one thing describing shirt, and that's blue-green. Morehouse College, sorry. Morehouse College has a state-of-the-art library. State-of-the-art is one thing describing library, and it's joining multiple words together to describe library, right? So it joins words and numbers. In this case, Morehouse College has a state-of-the-art library. Make sense? Active voice. I'm sure you guys have heard this a million times before. Don't use passive voice, use active voice. And the reason just because of that is just, it makes things clear. So active voice, active voice is mostly for things that are not scientific writing, not academic papers. It's for what you're doing. It's for public consumption. It's for just like regular reading, and using active voice for the majority of your sentences makes your meaning clear for readers, and it keeps the sentences from just becoming too wordy and too complicated. So that's why you want to use active voice. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Active voice means subject, verb, object, exactly what we were talking about before. If you don't have subject, verb, object, then you don't have active voice. So he bounces the ball, right? That is active voice. The athlete bounces the ball. Subject, verb, object. Subject being athlete, bounces being the verb, ball or the ball being the object. The athlete bounces the ball. That is active voice. Passive voice is object, verb, subject. So now it feels a little bit confusing. So now the object is in the beginning of the sentence, and then it's subject sandwiches the verb. And so we're going to have a little bit more complex of a sentence because now the object is receiving what action it is instead of the subject doing the action. So balls are bounced by the athletes. Well, why didn't we just say athletes bounce balls, right? Just make it clear instead of balls are bounced by athletes. Now I've got extra words in there with by, and balls looks like it's subject and it's not, and it's really the object. So now we have the object doing the action. We don't want to do that. We want subject, verb, object. Make it clean. The reason we want active voice is because it's just clear and easy for people to read. Any questions before I move on from that? Okay. Adjective and adverbs. Does anybody know what that is? Before I give my spiel, what an adjective is or adverb is?
Well,
You can go
an
ahead, Will.
adjective. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Will.
No, Andy goes because your tag, you're it.
All right. Well, an adjective is a description of a noun.
That's right. Boom. Tito, what's an adverb?
They describe verbs and
Stop there.
adjectives.
Yep, perfect. You're absolutely perfect. Adjectives, both of you guys, A+. Adjectives and adverbs, we're just described. That is used to describe things, a part of the language that describes things. Adjectives describes nouns, what we talked about, that person, that place, that thing, a beautiful woman, beautiful being the adjective, woman being the noun that it is describing. Adverbs describe or modify verbs or actions, right? So he didn't just bounce the ball, he bounced the ball quickly, right? And you can usually tell that adverbs are ly. He bounced the ball quickly. So yeah, example, I noticed the red car. What kind of car? What does the car look like? What's describing the car? It's a red car, right? I being the subject, notice being the verb. Then we have the object is car. And what type of car is it? Well, we know what type of car. It's just the adjective describe it. It's a red car. An example, Andre briefly browsed the store. He didn't just browse the store, he briefly browsed the store. So it gives me context. It describes the verb in this case. And so remember, as I said, adverbs in the ly, quickly, softly, angrily, quietly. You know, those are adverbs. All right, one of my favorite parts, conjunction, junction. I was so tempted to put that video in here, but I was like, no, these are grown men. Anyway, conjunction.
Video from Glee?
Huh?
Is it a video from Glee?
It was a video. No, it was video from Schoolhouse Rock. Okay, now you make me want to put the
Oh.
video in there. Okay, and I see that Andy loves the idea, so I'm doing it. Okay, what is a conjunction? We talked about this. Conjunctions as the partisan, and I did put the little guy just for you, Andy. So I have a conjunction is part of the speech that connects words, phrases, or clauses. And we talked about this. It's and, but, or, so, yet, nor, or for. Right? What's the function? It's just to connect. I'm going to connect these words, blue and green. I'm going to connect phrases. I'm going to connect clauses. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but anyone have questions? Or? Okay, I won't make you look at the guy anymore, but I am sending that video. All right, so interjections. What's an interjection?
It's like an abrupt interruption, isn't it?
Oh, you sound so smart. I'm impressed. That's exactly what it is. An interjection, exactly. You interject, you interrupt, right? It's a short word that shows emotion. And like you said, it's said abruptly. And you can see on the right side of your screen examples, right? And also on the left side of your screen, hey, right? Whoa. And I started to put that song in here. This is why I love in person, because we would have been bopping. I was gonna put, who was that? Was it Rick Ross who had the, no, it was Black Rob who had the like, whoa song. You guys know that song? Okay, well, whatever. I was bopping to it the other day. But anyway, whoa, right? Oh, Jesus, you know, yikes. Those are all interjections and they usually end with an exclamation point, as you can see on the side. No, pow, whoops, OMG, yeah, it's just to express this emotion and it's said abruptly. So, did you find the class interesting? No, that would be the way you would write it. You need to write it as an interjection. Otherwise, it's more muted when you write it, right? So you want to express the emotion in your writing. And then the last one, I think I mixed these up. I'll fix that when I send this out. But basically, what is a gerund? Has anybody heard of this? A gerund? This is to help you.
I remember when I learned about it, we just pretty much it's like we almost learned it as verbs with ing at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's kind of how we learned it.
Yes, exactly. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Will. So actually, if everyone could drop their number in the chat, that would be great. Actually, let me also drop my number in the chat. Okay. What is a gerund? Yeah, it is an ing. So basically, ing, sorry. A verb, it's a verb that turns into a noun, essentially. So instead of to walk, it's walking. And instead of here, the first one is she travels across the world. Travels will be the verb. And the second one, traveling, becomes the noun. Traveling is a good way to have new experiences. So now, even though the root of it comes from a verb, it's actually the noun. It's the thing. It's the thing we're talking about, person, place, or thing. He sings with passion. Sings would be the verb. Singing is his passion. Now singing becomes a noun. Make sense? Okay. I think that's all I had. Oh, resources. So I use these resources in grad school, and the other one I use in the newsroom a lot. Purdue Online Writing Lab. If you are confused and you're like, Professor Smith did not make it clear what a gerund was or an adjective, or actually just go to this website and it will give you a page that describes it. So maybe if I'm not communicating it, that, and it's just, if you have a question or you can't remember and you want to look it up, then just go to Purdue Online Writing Lab. And I will send this deck, so no worries if you didn't get a chance to write it down. The other thing is Associated Press. So you should have learned AP style. However, if you don't know it, you will know it by the end of this semester, because I will write notes if you don't write it in AP style. But this is the part of the critical thinking I'm talking about. I don't want you to assume barbecue is spelled BBQ or with a Q or with a C. I want you to actually know how AP writes it and then incorporate it into your writing. So that means you have to subscribe to AP style book online. So it's just like a Google search once you subscribe online. So I'm telling you to subscribe. And it'd be good to have the physical book if you actually just want to read through it so that you know what AP style is, because that's kind of hard to do online. So my suggestion to you would to have a physical book, and as tedious as that may sound, just sit down and read it. And then have Associated Press Style Guide, the online subscription that will help you. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left in class, and I'm going to try to write down these numbers as well. What questions do you all have or concerns or anything like that? And thank you for doing that, Andy, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
Mm-hmm. What questions do you have? And it could be about what we talked about today. It could be about what I have for breakfast, whatever.
How was your break? How was your Christmas and New Year's?
Oh, thank you for asking. Who asked that?
Tito.
Tito. So it wasn't what I expected. I'll put it that way. I got a really bad flu, which in COVID season, I kept being concerned it was COVID. So I went and got tested twice. It's probably too much information. So I actually spent 10 days I was a little disappointed that the break that I had been waiting for didn't happen the way I wanted, but I'm better now. How was
oh yeah, mine will, I'll say overall it went well. But I actually got COVID, but
you did?
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird. I got it the symptoms I got the day before New Year's Eve. And on that day, I just felt around I think 8 p.m. I felt a little scratch in my throat. And then when I woke up the next morning, I had that, but then I got the chills an hour after I woke up. And then I had the chills really bad for like New Year's. But then the next day I was fine. It was weird. Like I had the symptoms really bad for a little bit more than 24 hours and then it dissipated. But I did test positive.
I'm
But,
sorry. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's rough.
But I mean, honestly, kind of like not like a check off the bucket list, but now I can say I've had COVID though,
Mhm,
you know.
mhm, mhm.
So
You really are good about finding the silver lining out. What else? Does anybody else have any questions? I won't keep you if you don't. I'm just stalling a little bit because I'm just writing down your numbers. But I
I
will.
was gonna briefly ask about your experience at CNN because I thought I heard you mention that.
Yeah, you did hear me mention that. So just really quickly on my background, out of school, I went to CNN. So like I said, I got a journalism degree at the University of Georgia. I actually interned 3 times at CNN. So I think one was international. Gosh, I can't remember what one was on like the assignment desk or something like that. And I had a really, really good boss who was just so supportive. She essentially recommended me to some people who could hire me. And so I got hired at CNN and spent 4 years there, and ended up doing some wonderful writing and went viral before like viral was a thing on CNN.com.
Wow.
And I just enjoyed the whole process. After that, I became a magazine editor. So I'm getting more into not just writing, but also helping shape words and stories and so on and so forth. I have currently, but most recently, I should probably pick that up, is I worked at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I was a senior editor and responsible for 14 reporters, writers, copy editors, all the fun things on arts and entertainment and things to do. So if you want to know what to do during the weekend, hit me up. And then currently, like I said, I work for Harvard University. I specifically work at Harvard Business Review, the magazine. If you haven't heard of it, go to hbr.org. And essentially, it is about management and organizational life and leadership and how to survive the workplace and do all those things. And that corresponds with my undergrad degree. And what I do at Harvard is audience development. It's why I brought it into this class. It pays very well. I want you to consider it as something you might want to do. But essentially, if you love looking at data and building audiences, and all coupled with making editorial do that, and storytelling do that for the news entity that you're with, you would love audience development. So I'm going to teach you how to do that and think about that, give you the opportunity to meet some people to consider it as a career choice.
Sounds great.
Yeah. But actually, I know some people at CNN I can connect you with if people keep it talking about CNN, they're interested, so we can talk about that this semester.
I would really appreciate that.
Good. One more thing. I know you guys all wrote it in here, and I wrote it all down feverishly, but my number, which I'll put back in here, if you could just text me and be like, just text me with your name, and I'm going to save it in my phone. Just 678-677-3733. What time is it? Okay. I will make a promise to you. I will never keep you past 1:15. That's my promise to you this semester. I will respect your time and respect your schedule, and that you have to be productive in other ways. Hit me up anytime, and I will follow up this class with a message on what we're to do next. Take a look at the syllabus. You do have a book that you have to start reading this week. So if you haven't gotten the book, it's on the syllabus, and I'll write it in my note. I said you were going to start learning how to critically think, and that book is going to be a huge part of it. Good. It's 1:15, you guys.
Good.
We made it through the first class, like together and stuff. I'll send out the deck. I'll send out an email, and I will see you next Tuesday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It was good meeting you all.
Likewise.
Wait, one more question. So we have
Yeah.
class every Tuesday and Thursday, right?
Tuesday and Thursday. For just real quick, for anybody who has to get off, not required to stay, by the way. Tuesday, Thursday. I live here, work in Boston, so oftentimes I will have to go there. So sometimes we will have virtual class even when the rest of the college is having in-person class. So just be flexible with me. That's all I'm asking that you do, is just be flexible with me. And so some days you will get an opportunity to be out in the community, and other times we will be in class, other times we will have guests, and then other times, yeah, we'll be kind of a variation of things. In fact, I'll go over the syllabus before my next class, but get the book.
I just had to ask, my bad. I just had to ask because I know some teachers sometimes have class only one day, not the other day.
Yeah.
So I just sure.
No, we got it both days.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure you get your money's worth. I'll put it that way. Okay. Okay. So I'll see you guys today, and I will share with you how you'll be working on, what you'll be reading. So I'll see you later. All right.
All right, have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Have a good one.
Have a good weekend, man.
Bye.